Ukraine officials report tens of thousands of civilians were killed in Mariupol with the possible use of chemical weapons. In a few minutes, we'll talk with Victory News contributor John Graves about this and so much more. And the fight for hearts, minds, and genders of children goes on in America's schools and government. Ahead, we'll hear why one New Jersey mom who ran for school board and one is ready to defend her children, well, and yours. But first, let's go to Mike Garofalo with tonight's top stories. Mike.
White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki blamed the 8.5% inflation number that just came out today for consumer price reports on Russian President Vladimir Putin's war against Ukraine.
We, of course, continue to assess the state of our economy, the health of our economy. That's not a projection we have made from here. We believe that the economy is strong. We have created more jobs last year than any year in American history. We saw the unemployment rate at 3.6% last month. And we know that as we're continuing through an economic recovery, that there are areas that we need to focus on, including bringing down costs for the American people.
The Biden White House has unleashed inflation that is the highest in 40 years. Data from AAA shows a gallon of gas is averaging $4.11 a gallon, which is less than last month's average of $4.33 per gallon, but still 50 cents higher than late February. Cities like Miami and Tampa, as well as states like California, are experiencing inflation numbers even higher than today's 8.5% report. GOP lawmakers are firing back at President Biden's long-anticipated ghost gun regulation set to roll out. This, as a new director of the ATF is also announced. Now, ghost guns are weapons where the serial numbers are removed.
Show me your hand! Shots fired! Shots fired!
The incoming law is the administration's response to a surge in gun violence-related deaths across cities in the United States. Many had hoped for Joe Biden to increase the prosecution of criminals in gun-related crimes. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton told Newsmax criminals would ignore the law.
I don't know why they've ever thought this was a good idea unless they really are trying to strip gun ownership from law-abiding American citizens, which is what I actually believe is happening, because they know, just like you and I know, those people who are going to kill people, those people who are going to commit violent crimes are not going to follow their regulations.
In a press release on Monday, the DOJ announced that once implemented, this rule will clarify that parts kits that are readily convertible to firearms are subject to the same regulations as traditional firearms. This would include serial numbers and the ability to trace them. Greg, back to you.
The 2022 midterm election cycle is underway. Let's see now where America stands. It appears some Democrat lawmakers have yet to cast an in-person vote in 2022. 3 members of the House of Representatives, Abiel Sires of New Jersey, Lucille Rollball Allard of California, and Al Lawson of Florida, have used proxies to vote 125 times each. For lawmakers to vote by proxy, they are required to state they are unable to physically attend proceedings in the House chamber due to the ongoing public health emergency.
I think people should be here to work, to have to be paid. When you proxy vote, you're not here to debate the bill. You're not in committee.
You
don't have any
condemned it early on.
Yeah, it's wrong.
Why are so many Republicans participating in proxy voting still?
I think people should. Well, if you look at how many Democrats, there's Democrats who have never been back to work.
However, the administration and Congress have withdrawn other restrictions connected with COVID-19 pandemic, yet House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, you love her, has retained the proxy voting rule. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy has vowed to eliminate the rule if Republicans retake the House in the midterm elections. Tim?
All right, to help us find out where America stands, let's bring in attorney and Victory News contributor John Graves. John, how could these 3 congressmen still not be back in D.C.? Now, there are a lot of us that take our job seriously, and we're not virtue signaling every day. Are these guys just out of touch? They seem like they don't take their duty seriously.
Listening to that story, Tim, the only thing I could think about is Proverbs 10 and Proverbs 24, where it talks about a slack hand makes poor, or I went by the field of the slothful one, the sluggard, somebody who's lazy and it's overgrown. I can't imagine how somebody's not going to run against them, but it sort of tells you, I mean, look at the last presidential campaign. Biden rarely came out of his basement. And so they know if we can just keep some of these people out, we'll make a big, we'll do the work for them. That's what proxy means, is we're doing it for you. And so it really, I'm glad they're drawing attention to the silliness that's going on. We have to show up for our jobs. They should too.
Absolutely. And we love doing it, by the way. Okay, Chuck Grassley will run for his 8th Senate term at the age of 89 years young. Are senators like he and Dianne Feinstein, who turned 90 in November, are they an example, in your opinion, of good government or need for little term limits?
No, I think they're more an example of term limits, and I'm glad that you pointed out there's a Democrat and a Republican both at their 90s. Now, what I do love is you're 89 or 90 years old, even if I don't agree with your politics, you're still engaged in the process. I like that, but I think, Reagan talked about citizen legislatures. We need more citizen legislatures, and you can't do it when somebody gets in a position of power, they get all the fundraising. It gets very, very hard to turn that over and hand it back to someone else. They become, kind of not lifelong, but a couple lifelong people up there. And so I think we need some fresh ideas because it's a mess.
Yeah, and no accountability either, John. That's one thing that we've seen recently in government. Now, feminist author Naomi Wolf appeared on Tucker Carlson and issued a surprising warning for this fall's midterms. Take a listen.
And you're right to worry about the midterms. Given the history of totalitarianism, there's no reason to believe that the midterms, which will deliver a resounding defeat to the Biden administration, are going to be allowed to unfold without an emergency. And if that emergency keeps us all at home, all the better.
Now, John, one would think that the Democrats would not really try to lock people down to affect the midterms. What do you think?
I absolutely think they will. I mean, look at Hunter Biden's laptop. They literally changed who was the president of the United States, and who knows how many senators or House members would have been there had that not been suppressed by big tech and mainstream media. So they absolutely will. I believe a huge part of the whole COVID crisis was an overblown, exaggerated, and we're now seeing it, but like the Hunter laptop, it's taken a year and a half for some truth to start coming out.
Yeah, we need to be vigilant as conservatives and as believers. Okay, President Biden announced that he's chasing ghost guns there. Why do you think he didn't promise to prosecute gun crimes to the fullest with that law instead, John?
I think he cares more about Ghostbusters, maybe. I don't know, Tim. It doesn't make any sense what this president's doing. I actually just was talking to somebody today, and I said, with all the crisis, low popularity, things are lining up to be a tsunami, and he's now attacking guns, and he's attacking ghost guns. I think it's just the out of touch administration that we're seeing. It's kind of mind-boggling, honestly.
John, I'd like to talk to you about that term limits sometime, because I would argue that we already have term limits that happen every 2 years. Let's take a quick trip down memory lane with President Joe Biden. Watch this.
50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plant. They have said that this has all the 5 former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage.
Okay, quick answer here, John. Over 4 dozen intelligence officers appear to have been duped on the reality of the laptop. Is this the greatest intelligence mistake in U.S. history or something else?
I don't think it's a mistake. I think it was on purpose, and I think what you see there is him pointing out that the deep state has the ability to give him information to allow the big tech and the media to shut it down. He would not have been president had that been allowed to get to the American people.
Yeah, they're not intelligence officers. They're operatives at that point. John, we'll be back in just a moment. Mike, back to you.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has signed a child welfare bill aimed at helping a decades-long fatherhood crisis.
The fact of the matter is, when you take kids that do not have a father present during their upbringing, the chance of them dropping out of school, getting involved in trouble with the law, having other difficulties increases dramatically.
The bill goes into effect July 1st. It will invest $70 million into statewide programs and grants to groups that support fathers, including helping fathers with job searches and transitioning from incarceration back into life outside of prison. The U.S. Census Bureau reports 1 in 4 kids have no biological step or adoptive father at home. Jeffrey Witt is president of Prisoners of Christ and said most of the inmates he counsels come from broken homes.
It's the outlier and the unusual event to have both parents in the family when we deal with somebody who's been incarcerated.
Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin is stepping up for parents again. The Daily Caller reports the governor signed a bill Friday that requires school districts to adopt a policy to notify parents when sexually explicit subjects or contact is used in their child's classroom. The measure requires the State Department of Education to put in place policies to make sure that parents are notified when their child is taught sexually explicit material. School boards have until the end of the year to adopt the new policy. Greg?
All right, let's welcome back to Victory News Michele LaTour, who was elected to her local school board in Old Tappan, New Jersey. Michele, welcome. The state of Virginia says parents must be informed when explicit sexual content is going to be shared in a classroom. What's your response to that law as a parent?
Well, parents are 100% entitled to know everything that's going on in their children's classroom. But the real question is, why is there sexually explicit content in the classroom to begin with? Why do teachers or adults even want to speak to children about sex at this level? It's really just opening the door for pedophilia, and in my opinion, it's grooming. There's no place in the classroom.
And you're absolutely right. Now, tell us about the New Jersey plan for sexual and gender identity teaching to little kids in the Garden State of New Jersey.
Well, starting in September, public school students can be learning things such as sexual orientation, gender identification, oral sex, anal sex, masturbation, discussions of puberty blockers as young as second grade, which seems insane. I personally, as a board member, haven't received any information from our school about any changes in the curriculum, but these are the things that I've been reading online that have been coming from the governor.
Yeah, they're trying to Disney the entire student population there. New Jersey State Senator Holly Shipsney has had this recommendation for concerned parents, and I want to get your response on this, Michele. Watch this.
And this is part of what parents don't understand. These guidelines were implemented by an unelected board, a state board of education, so it was done administratively. And I think now is the time that they have to stand up, they need to go to the Board of Ed meetings, and they need to express what they think is appropriate and age appropriate for their children to be taught.
Michele, can parents stop this kind of stuff at their school boards, and will Governor Phil Murphy honor their concerns?
I don't know about Phil Murphy honoring anyone's concerns, but parents can make their voices heard for sure at the school board meetings. There's definitely power in numbers. The more people that speak up, the more of a difference it's going to make. And in New Jersey, you have the choice of opting your child out of any sexual education. Most people don't know that. And I think if everyone come September opts their kids out of the program, that's going to make a big statement. And maybe, that will help them change things.
That's a good call. Have you seen increased attendance in your school board meetings since you've been elected?
I have.
Okay. Let me ask you this now. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said barring this kind of sex and gender teaching from grade school is an assault on transgenders and their rights. What say you?
I think it's an assault on our children. They're taking, innocence away from children. There's no need for kids to be even talking about these topics at this age. And really, parents need to put their feet down and say, this is enough. We can't have our kids learning things like this at 7, 8, 9 years old. It's just completely inappropriate.
Michele, you're one of the heroes. Thank you for stepping up and running and getting elected and speaking up and being with us. Michele LaTour, New Jersey, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
PGA Tour player Scottie Scheffler is the newest Masters Tournament champion, winning the coveted green jacket with excellent play at Augusta from start to finish. But Scheffler has a different goal than just winning. He told the press, quote, "The reason why I play golf is I'm trying to glorify God and all that he has done in my life." Scheffler also told a story about his wife and how she encouraged him when he was feeling the pressure on the final day of the tournament.
I cried like a baby this morning. I was so stressed out. I didn't know what to do. I was sitting there. I was telling Meredith, I was like, I don't think I'm ready for this. I'm not ready. I don't feel like I'm ready for this kind of stuff. And I just felt overwhelmed. And so she told me, who are you to say that you're not ready? Who am I to say that I know what's best for my life? And so for what we talked about is, that God is in control and, the Lord is leading me, and if today's my time, then it's my time.
And it certainly is and was his time as Scotty Scheffler dominated the field and celebrated his faith in the Master as he won the Masters. Greg?
All right, let's bring John Graves back in here one more time. I like what he just said there, John, if today is my time. And I believe that's where we are all right now. And we've got to realize today is our time to get involved, to do something.
I agree. That's one of my passions at Million Voices, as you know. When I hear stories like that, I think everybody's got a purpose and everybody has a voice. If we can just get everybody to do their little part, just like Michele, you just had her on. She's a mom. She wants to fight for kids, and then she gets more into it. That's what Christ calls us to do, is help the rest of the people that are out there, even our enemies.
All right.
So I'm encouraged by that.
I'm very much encouraged. Governor Ron DeSantis responded to the people of Shanghai being locked in their homes by China. I guess that's not the Olympics. That's not a new Olympic sport. And the new mask mandates now that we have in Philadelphia today with these words.
As long as I sit in the chair in which I sit, no Floridian will be restricted, mandated, or locked down in any possible way.
So is that why the left just can't handle him and stomach him, or is it something else?
Yes, they can't stand him. He's like, he keeps impressing me. I've told you before, I've had governor envy over him. Listen to the story we did earlier. He's standing up for fathers. It's the #1 indicator of poverty, especially in the black community, of education, of success in life, of economic thriving. All of that happens with a man and a woman in a home. That's how God created it. He's fighting for that, and he's fighting for freedom. And it's just incredible to watch. I wish we had 50 governors like that.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, we've got record inflation. Highest number was released today. No one's really hearing about it because of the horrible thing that happened in New York City. And pressure on every side, John. What do we do? And then I want you to lead us in prayer.
Okay, well, and remember, what is the White House saying? You covered this earlier in the story. They're saying, well, it's Putin's fault. It's Putin's fault. Let me show you a little graph. I don't know if we can get this up on the screen, but here's 2016 through 2020. This is under the Trump administration. The pink is showing what happens to inflation right here on this graph during the Biden administration. And there's the invasion of Ukraine by Putin right there. This line going up was not caused by that. So, God, I pray for truth. I pray it is hard to find it when it's suppressed, whether it's laptops, whether it's mask mandate issues, election fraud, all of these things are being suppressed. We know that you conceal things, but it's the glory of men and women to seek them out, you say. And so help us be people who seek them out and have to get around big tech suppressing them, media suppressing them. Thank you for Victory News. Increase their sphere of influence because they're fighting for the truth so that people can know good information and make good decisions. And we thank you for all of that in the name of Jesus.
John,
Amen.
I so appreciate what you do at millionvoices.org. Tell us real quickly, we got less than 30 seconds, how they can be involved with Million Voices.
It's really exciting. Over 10,000 people have already signed up. We give you the ability to contact your state rep, your state senator, and you have a voice, and people are flooding us with pictures of the letters that they send, and they're getting feedback, and we've already covered more than 2/3 of the House reps in the whole country, Greg.
This is the way to
it's a grassroots uprising.
And it's the way to make your voice heard. Go to that website and get it, millionvoices.org. John, you're wonderful. Thanks for being with us. We're always glad that you're here.
Always a pleasure.